WDTV for the good times.
Basketball coach of the Marauders, Jimmie Howell right here. Mount Vernon, I know this has to be a big thing for your community, Jim.
Oh, it's been a tremendous thing all week. The enthusiasm from the adult fans, the students, the businesses, just everybody's been phenomenal.
And you've got a good ball club too, don't you?
Well, we think we do. You know, we'll find out today if we can compete at a higher level, but we have some good athletes, and the kids play hard. They play very aggressive.
Tony Cross, what about him?
Okay, Cross is a 6'5" junior, is going to be a real good player. Averaged about 17 a game for us. He's a Division I prospect for a guard.
What are you looking for from Pike?
Well, we have to handle the ball against their pressure. We have to keep them off the offensive boards, and we've got to contain those two guards of theirs.
Their guards have been outstanding, but you've got a little guy out there, not a little guy, but he's done an excellent job of setting up your offense.
Yeah, Chris Rankin has done an awful good job the last 3 weeks of running the ball club, and he's probably the big reason that we're here today.
Jimmie Howell, the head basketball coach of the Marauders from Mount Vernon High School. Now let's go to Jerry Baker and his guests, the Pike Township head coach, Ed Siegel.
All right. Ed and I are having some conversation over here, and Ed just made a very observant remark. Ed, you talked about this all started back in, what, October or so, and this is what it's all about.
Yes, I was thinking about October the 15th where we started practice, all of us, and we've been going for 5 months, and all that hard work comes down to this, and it's super for the young kids to have an opportunity to play in the Semi-State.
22-5 is your ball club this year. We saw you last Saturday in the regional, and the ball club appears to be doing what you want it to do when you want it done. Tom and I talked in the first ball game. Momentum is so important for a ball club.
That's the whole key when you get at this level. And Jerry, when you look around, these basketball teams all have 20 wins, so every team is extremely well balanced. That proved that in the first ball game, because that was a heck of a basketball game, the first ball game. And so anybody could win it. So, you know, you really got to come in ready to play, and we hope our kids are ready to play.
When Ed filled out the information sheet, I asked the coaches to fill out for me, which is kind of a pain for them, but I appreciate it. You put one section in there, Ed. You said you set out at the start of the year with, was it 5 different goals, and one of the last one was to make the Final Four. That's a remarkable goal to set that early in the year.
Well, we felt this way. We felt that we knew we didn't have a whole lot back as far as experience, because Ronnie was back at point guard, and that was it. And we had Pat and we had Billy back. But we also realized that we had some good young kids. And I really wanted to make a point that I think it was time that we started thinking bigger than what we had been, and that was the idea behind it.
You were talking about your guards. Ron Rutland is your key guard, averaging almost 20 points per ball game. Pat Dunbar is his running mate at 13. Pat has not played well in the last couple of ball games. We have since found out he's been battling that flu bug that many of us have been fighting. How's he doing?
Well, he's better than he was. Last weekend, the kid had bronchitis badly. And Jerry, he was really hurting. He played on a lot of intestinal fortitude down the stretch when we needed 3 guards. And he's better than he was, but I don't think he's back to full strength yet. But we got some other people that might be able to play a little.
I've got to ask Ed to do me a favor. I got jumped on it about before the ball game started today. Your starting center, Billy Gordon. Somehow, in running down the computer printouts, I gave Billy a 2.9 scoring average last week for our telecast, and I understand he's taking some heat over that.
Yes, but, you know, I told him, I said, you know, a guy from Sullivan, Indiana, he's had problems all of his life, and he can't add. That's why he became a sports announcer, so don't worry about it, Billy.
So Billy's not too mad at me then?
No.
Well, when you're as big as he is, I want to keep him on my side. Ed, a great season. Let's hope it continues. Further good luck in the second ball game.
Thank you very much, Jerry. You always do a super job, even though you are from Sullivan.
I can't help that, I guess. Ed Siegel, head coach at Pike High School. Pike and Mount Vernon, they're here, and they are wound up and ready to go. And Tom and I will be back with the starting lineups and the second game in just a minute. With Tom Hesher, this is Jerry Baker. We're back at Hinkle Fieldhouse. We are between games with about 4 minutes to go before the second game gets underway. Richmond won the opening ball game, in case you just joined us, by a score of 60-54. Now look at this. See, I strip down and go to my shirt sleeves, and they put us on camera, and you've got your coat on. You make me look bad, Coach.
Well, I've never seen you here with a coat, so they're getting us in a very natural situation.
It's gotten warmer here the last couple of hours. Tom and I remarked earlier that it wasn't a bad day at all. Now, last two Saturdays, we have really sweltered because the temperature's been up in the 50s and the 60s, and it's been very, very warm. And I think, Tom, to a certain degree, had some effect on the ball players who were playing, especially last Saturday night.
Well, it probably did. I think that we may see even more of that. We've had a Friday-Saturday format, and now we're going to have ball clubs playing twice. Some people would say this is an advantage for Richmond, regardless of the outcome of this ball game, but things have a way of happening that aren't altogether the expected.
Interesting observation, and Tom and I were chatting in our commercial break. Ed Siegel, who is a kind of well, he's a very intense coach and a very intense practice coach, because I've been to some of his practices, but is a fun guy away from there, seems to be extremely loose. Now, Tom, I can't tell if he's putting on a facade, if he's so uptight that he's trying to be loose, but he seems to really be, you used the term enjoying himself.
Ed is one of these people that is very committed to the game of basketball, enjoys virtually every facet of the game, and I think that he has. He's had a ball club that's won the county tournament, as he indicated last week, their conference championship, a sectional and a regional championship. Regardless of what happens today, and believe me, he wants to win badly, he's really had a good time throughout this tournament and throughout the basketball season, and when this one ends, he'll be ready for another one.
Well, there's no question about it. Here's a score for you coming in from Fort Wayne. Penn has won it handily by a 22-point margin, or 21-point margin, 75-54. And now we'll advance on to play the winner of that, who are we talking about? Fort Wayne, the Marion, Michigan City Rogers game. And we're also watching the game down in Evansville, Bedford, North Lawrence, and North Harrison, and at Lafayette, Gary Roosevelt and McCutcheon. And Gary Roosevelt, we talked about earlier, is winning that ball game and would advance to meet the winner of the Lafayette Central Catholic and Carmel contest. So again, the first game score, in case you just dialed our way, is 60-54. Richmond came from behind in the second half to win it by that 6-point differential. Coming up is Mount Vernon and Pike, and we'll be back with that ball game in just a minute. The buzzer has just sounded at historic Hinkle Fieldhouse. You see the Pike Red Devils heading back to their coach, Ed Siegel, and we'll go over now and pick up the starting lineups for this second ball game of the day between the Mount Vernon Marauders and the Red Devils of Pike High School. And here is Ivan Mormon.
Number 11, Kurt Petty. Number 20, Tim Cox. Number 21, Mike Haynes. Number 12, John Klein. Number 42, Pat Bennett. Number 50, Matt Russell. Number 32, Jeff Lady. Starting at a forward, number 40, Troy Cross. At the other forward, number 30, Derek Shelton. At center, number 52, Tony Long. At a guard, number 13, Mike Shelton. And at the other guard, number 10, Chris Rankin. And their coach, Jimmie Howell. For the Pike Red Devils, number 32, Trent Ritzenthaler. Number 40, Number 44, Terrence Gates. Number 21, David Harmon. Number 22, Jimmie Ward. Number 11, Dean Dunbar. Number 30, John Payne. Starting at a forward, number 20, Aaron Marks. At the other forward, number 22, Matt Supple. At center, number 42, Billy Gordon. At a guard, number 12, Pat Dunbar. And at the other guard, number 10, Ron Rutland. And their coach, Ed Siegel. Let's shake hands, gentlemen, and play ball. Thank you. Your officials, Ron Carter and Mike Crouch.
Well, the two clubs shake hands at midcourt here at Hinkle Fieldhouse. We're just seconds away. Here are the matchups of these two ball clubs. Mount Vernon offensively at 73-5. Defensively, Pike has the edge. Pike's also the better field goal and free throw shooting ball club. And look at that mismatch in the rebounds, Tom.
Well, yes, but absolutely meaningless as far as this ball game today is concerned, but it gives an indication that this Mount Vernon ball club physically has been able to go against their opposition with a great deal of effectiveness. Ron Carter rounds from Brixton, and Mike Crouch from Jonesboro, the officials for this second ball game here at Hinkle this afternoon.
Again, the top scorers in the first game. Richmond had Woody Austin with 19, Coleman with 18, and Roostel with 10. Bloomington South, 3 players in double figures. Marty Collier had 16, Jim Billman 11, Chris Lawson 10. Richmond wins it 60-54 to go 22-4 on the year. Bloomington South finishes up 23-5. And here are the matchups for the second ball game. And this could be a great ball game. The strong differential is Pike's guards averaging 32-8, Dunbar and Rutland, to Shelton and Rankin's 10-6. But Mount Vernon with Cross and D. Shelton, Derek Shelton at the forwards at 29-3, and March and Supple for Pike at 9-4. So much like the first game, Tom Esham, each ball club relies on a different part of its game to win basketball games.
Well, the guards essentially we feel made the difference in the first game, at least combination backcourt for Richmond. Let's see what holds true in this one.
Cross missing from long range, and the rebound comes back down to Mount Vernon. That's the rebounding stat we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago. Troy Cross, 6'5" junior, got it inside to Tony Long. And Long, who averages 16.5 per game and is a 62% shooter, puts Mount Vernon out in front 2-0. Now they will press you all over the floor. Jimmie Howell likes to come and get you right from the outset of the basketball game. 30 seconds into it, Pike with its first possession of the game, and they've got him trapped in the corner, but they managed to get it free. Now to her side to Pat Dunbar. It'll be interesting, Tom, to see how Dunbar fares today, because the last two games you and I saw with Dunbar, he was battling a flu bug, and if that's gone, then he'll be a different ball player than what we saw. A turnover as quickly up court. Derek Shelton could not control himself and turned the ball back over to the Pike Red Devils.
Well, right now it looks like Mount Vernon going to extend their defense, as you had mentioned, Jerry, the full court press. Pike, of course, as most clubs do anymore, they see this quite often during the season. It's just a matter of the people that are doing it and their quickness that makes the big difference.
Almost a steal, but the ball did finally get to Aaron Marks, and here's a turnover. Basket will not count. And Mount Vernon has the ball. Mount Vernon won its first regional in the history of the school last week. And this entire community, Tom, has got to be sky high.
Well, there haven't been many regionals won by schools in Hancock County, period, and certainly they have to be pleased, and rightly so. They have a fine basketball club.
Tie ball game at 2. Mount Vernon with the ball. Long gets it inside, rolls off the front of the rim, and a good strong rebound by one of the hard workers on this ball club, Matt Supple. Billy Gordon. Gordon's first 2 points of the game. 4-2 is the score. Offensive foul on Mount Vernon. It'll be on Derek Long, number 1 on Long. Mount Vernon is in a hurry, Tom, to get that ball up court. They want to run it much like Richmond tried to run it in the first game.
Tony Long takes the pass and tries to run right up the back of Billy Gordon, but to no avail. He's called for the charge. Pike back against the full court press again.
Rutland and Dunbar at guard. Billy Gordon in the middle. Aaron Marks, Matt Supple on the forwards. Rutland missing, and a rebound squared off inside by Mount Vernon's Derek Shelton. The average is just over 6 rebounds per ball game. Reach-in foul from behind on Aaron Marks. I got my apologies in, by the way, to Billy Gordon for that statistic that we planted on him last week. Football is forgiven. When you're 6'3" and built like Billy Gordon is, you really don't want him. You don't want him mad at you.
No, Billy, he's a very consistent performer, really. You can tell the way he handles himself in a defensive situation like right now. He's going to front Long. Now he moves back around as the ball swings back to the middle of the court.
Ball is dropped inside to Derek Shelton. Now back out to the guards, Rankin and the other Shelton. On the rebound is Matt Supple again. Supple in a hurry to Pat Dunbar. Off near side, Aaron Marks. Air ball, but a foul is called under the hoop. And the foul is against Pike. It'll be on Billy Gordon. First on Billy, second against the ball club. Here it comes again.
Marks is going to shoot a ball. He thought he got fouled outside right here. He hits the deck. No foul there. And then Gordon is on the back of Shelton, and that's going to be foul number 1 on Gordon, 2 on the Red Devils.
Mount Vernon had 7 returning lettermen this year and 3 starters. Deflected, saved by Mount Vernon. Tossed out long to Mike Shelton. Now here's Cross. And the rebound to Supple, kicked away. Picked up by Mount Vernon. Now a loose ball is picked up by Pike, and a foul will be called against the Marauders of Mount Vernon High School. And climbing off the deck is Derek Shelton, number 1 on him. Mount Vernon enrollment of, here it is again.
All right, Shelton knocks the ball away. Gordon got a handle on it momentarily. They fell down. Now Shelton rolls over right here. And by rolling over, he trips up Marks, and that's the foul.
This is the smallest school in the semi-state here in town today. Others, Lafayette Central Catholic is smaller. 761 students in the 4-year school at Mount Vernon. Yeah, this is a big moment for them. Billy Gordon's second bucket. Gordon now with a 4-point total and a 4-point lead for Pike.
Suppose maybe we should mention to some of the viewers around the area after this sequence, there's Cross. Mount Vernon consolidations of the communities of McCordsville, Mount Comfort, and Fortville in the northwestern area of Hancock County, just east of Marion. Hey, when Rutland can penetrate, that just makes Pike all the more dangerous with their offense. They're going to have to stop his dribble at least at the top of the circle.
There is Cross again. Can't get it again. Cross went to get the rebound. Couldn't hang on to it, and Supple comes out of the window. Tom, can these ball clubs keep up this pace throughout the entire 32 minutes of this ball game?
No, I think they're going to make an effort to do so. Maybe the only thing that would stop them is going to be some foul problems, but right now, that's not an obvious situation to contend with.
8-4, make it 8-6. Tony Long, second bucket. Well, they got a couple of kids in this Mount Vernon lineup. Long, who shoots 62%, and Shelton shoots 69 from the floor. The other end, Ron Rutland again. He's the top shooter on the Pike Red Devils unit at 57%. Well, they got some kids who can flat fill it up here. Inside 4 minutes in the first period. Ball is kicked away by Aaron Marks. Now we'll get a substitution for Mount Vernon coming into the lineup. Number 20, 6'1" senior Tim Cox, 3 points per game. Going out, Mike Shelton. Shelton did not score, has not scored in the ball game so far.
Rankin's the man right there. You see number 10 that kind of sets the offense for him. He's a good point guard.
But Cross walks this side of the floor. It's his second bucket, and the other shots he has taken have all come from that same general area. That cuts the lead to 2 again at 10-8. Billy Gordon. And the rebound yanked out of there by Mount Vernon. Derek Shelton, who averages just over 6 rebounds per ball game. Out of Rankin. Now Cox handles the ball for the first time of the game. Chris Rankin again. Can't get the roll. Rebound comes down to Pike. And once again, it's Matt Supple. That's at least 3 rebounds he's had here in the first 5 minutes of the game. Rutland forced the shot, missed the shot. Rebound comes down to Brian Marks, or to Aaron Marks. Now back out to Rutland again.
2-3 zone now by Mount Vernon after they get set on the half-court defense.
It is kept alive and chased down by Dunbar. Ron Rutland. Third field goal for Rutland. And a half a dozen point total, and the difference is 4 again at 12-8. We'll get a couple of substitutions. Into the ball game is number 12, John Klein from Mount Vernon. John is a 6-foot junior with a 2.5 point per game scoring average. Pike will also make a substitution. And for those of you who were not with us last week, watch this guy. Number 40, Marcus Johnson. He's only a sophomore, and he is 6 feet 8 inches tall, and a timeout has been taken. With 2 minutes and 42 seconds to play in the first quarter, it is Pike leading Mount Vernon 12-8.
Pike guard Ron Rutland, the ball handler. You see him take the ball inside, which he does exceedingly well. Shoots it up with a left hand. And just a tremendous basketball player. He's been their leading scorer virtually all year. Look at the field goal percentages. Pretty good here in the early stages of the ball game. Pike up on rebounds.
There's a steal by Billy Gordon. Nobody's had a chance to breathe in this ball game. Right since the get-go, they have been right in each other's face. Pike makes the steal. With 2.5 minutes to go in this first quarter, they lead by 4, 12-8. Here's Rutland again. And the rebound yanked out of there by Tony Law.
Now, Mount Vernon sealed away the boards pretty well that time. You can't let Pike get back to the board with Marcus Johnson in there now. They're particularly able to do that.
That is Cross in that same area we spoke of a couple of moments ago. He loves that left side. That's his 3rd field goal. And he and Tony Long have scored all 10 of the Mount Vernon points.
Cross is strong physically and good legs, and that helps shoot that ball outside with good balance.
There's the big sophomore we spoke of also. 6'8" sophomore Marcus Johnson with his first couple of points. He is tied for the lead on blocked shots in this ball club with 27. Here is a foul on Supple. I'm just sitting here, Tom, looking across the floor during the commercial break, and look right into the eyes of Ray Crow, who coached the Crispus-Attucks Tigers to a couple of state championships, and he still looks like he can coach. The guy never ages. He was in the movie we were talking about with Howard, or Howard was talking to me about. It's a halftime of the first game. I look down to the Pike scoring section. I see the mayor of Indianapolis, Bill Hudnut, is down there dressed in the red and white.
He's got a red and white sweater on with a big P on the front.
Oh, fine rebound. Back up by Shelton, and good, and the foul is called on Ron Rutland. Derek Shelton's first field goal.
Great effort by Derek Shelton, and a good sense of timing when he got himself. There's part of the Mount Vernon fans. Here's the shot from the outside, and it comes into the lane. Shelton goes up, and he has to go up again. And he did and put it in, and Rutland picks up the foul.
Derek Shelton scored 57 points so far in the tournament, 42 in the regional. He had 15 in the sectional. He had games of 23 and 19 last Friday and Saturday. 14-12 ball game with Pike out in front. Missing his marks, and the ball below the Pike.
Let's watch this inbound situation. They're going to zone it, as most teams are doing in this day and age. Come right back to the top of the circle with it.
Pike Red Devils out in front by 2. 14-12. Ball deflected out of bounds. And last touched by Derek Shelton. Pike won its first 6 ball games of the year, then lost 3. Then later on in the season lost 2 back-to-back. So they've lost in bunches and won in bunches. Nice inbound steal by Tony Long. Now Vernon Marauders bring it across the timeline. They're down by a deuce with 1 minute and 5 seconds to play here in this first quarter. Cross, that's his favorite area right there. Oh, he's doing a job. That is 4 field goals and 8 points. Now here's a foul on the inbounds play. It'll be on Klein. And number 1 on John. You know, Tom, I think back to when I played a little basketball. If you threw a pass across the court like they now throw as part of the game plan, you go to the bench without even asking. They're using that, what they call the skip pass, and it's very effective against, especially a zone, I guess.
Well, one of the reasons the defenses now move more as a unit to one side of the floor and to the other, and frequently there is no defender on the backside anymore.
35 seconds to play in this first quarter. Held ball, arrow pointing toward Pike, so they'll retain possession. Right in front of the Mount Vernon bench and head coach Jimmie Howell. Now a substitution, Dunbar coming back in for Pike.
Troy Cross, the 6'5" junior, has 4 baskets here in the first quarter. I watch him and look across the floor and see Tony Hinkle watching this afternoon's action and think that's the kind of basketball player that Tony had. A lot of them here at Butler that are fundamentally sound, shoot the ball well, just like Troy Cross is doing at the moment.
You could almost see him in your picture, and he's still up here coaching as he's talking to the gentleman sitting next to him. I'll guarantee he's explaining the whole thing to him because he still knows what's going on. Here's the ball deflected away, and last touch by Pat Dunbar. Dunbar came into the lineup during that last dead ball. And head coach Ed Siegel wanted to chat with Billy Gordon. He was not pleased with what was going on out there.
Chris Rankin's going to re-enter, replacing John Klein. Rankin will not shoot the ball often, but he's going to handle the ball at the point. They bring it into him to start this offensive sequence.
This tie at 14 is the second of the ball game with 15 seconds to play in the first period. Pike is led by 4. Mount Vernon has been ahead by 2, and it's been that kind of a game right from the start. Get in each other's face and stay there. 5 seconds to play in the period. Rankin wanted the shot, had it taken away, and that'll be the end of the first quarter. So it's been in-your-face basketball, and we're right back where we started. After 1, it's Pike and Mount Vernon tied at 14. A couple of years ago, Jimmie Howell, the head coach, went to the athletic director at Mount Vernon High School, Ernie Oden, and said, hey, we got to upgrade our schedule if we're going to be able to contend with these other people in the sectional and regional. So they added 3 teams this year. They added Warren Central, Cathedral, and Anderson Highland. They lost 3 games this year. Which ones did they lose, Tom?
Well, I would imagine the 3 that they added, but he proved his point.
He did prove his point. In fact, now they lost to Cathedral by 2, and they were outscored 22-10 in the fourth quarter.
But they nailed a big one in the regional over at Newcastle when they got Muncie South. Muncie South was a good ball club.
John Robbins had a great outfit this year. They were ranked 17th in one poll, 18th in the other, and that was really maybe the highlight of the entire athletic endeavors at Mount Vernon High School. Good strong move inside. Again, a third opportunity? Apparently not. Foul is going to be called. Johnson was doing a good job inside defensively, and at the same time, Long doing a good job offensively, and the foul goes against Pike.
Yeah, that's a great effort on the part of Tony Long. Supple now has his second foul. You saw Marcus Johnson deflect one of those efforts by Long, but he stayed right after it, drew the foul, and he's going to have an opportunity to score from the charity strike.
Leading scorers in the first quarter for Mount Vernon, Troy Cross with 8. And for Pike, Ron Rutland with 6. Out of bounds, Mount Vernon. Neither one of these clubs particularly prolific at the free throw stripe. Pike hitting 66%, Mount Vernon 63 on the year.
There are the first quarter stats on your screen. Oh, we have another foul on Pike.
They were pointing toward Aaron Marks. Ed Siegel is wanting to know what's going on here. And if it's on Marks, that'll be 2. No, they put it on Supple. Ooh, that's 3. Now, Supple won't score many points for you, 5.8, but he is really a workhorse, and he's going to come out of there in a hurry. They'll bring Billy Gordon back in. Supple will go out. So, Gordon, I would assume, Tom, will move into that forward spot. Gordon will go to forward, and they'll leave Marcus Johnson in the middle.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the way they're going to handle it.
Derek Shelton with his first point of this period, third of the afternoon, averaging 12.4 per contest. Derek's been a football player, gained over 1,300 yards each of the last 2 years as a tailback on the Mount Vernon football team.
Well, you can see that he's a pretty good-looking kid physically.
He has 4 points. Long has 4. Cross has the other 8. And it's 16-14. Mount Vernon's taking a 2-point lead. They led by 2 early in the contest. A near steal, but Dunbar breaks it. Aaron Marks, now to Rutland. 30 seconds into the second period. Shelton on the rebound, off the miss. Here is Cross. Threw it away. Well, he had the intended receiver, Derek Shelton, on the baseline and just had too much pizzazz on it.
Well, that's one of those things where, you know, your judgment has to be good to make that kind of pass, but you give him credit from the standpoint they're not afraid to push the ball inside or to do some things, not concerned with whether they make that mistake particularly or not. They come right back and stay with it.
It's almost like volleyball down there. Everybody, his brother hit it, but it still didn't go in the hoop. Shelton in a hurry at the other end. And he got around big Marcus Johnson. Derek Shelton was 6, and it's a 4-point lead. That's the biggest that Mount Vernon's had in this contest.
Hey, that took some effort to go right against Marcus Johnson head on. He's 6'8".
Mount Vernon picks up the Pike Red Devils just as soon as they get anywhere near the time stripe, and they just don't go away. You'll see occasions where there are 3 black shirts around a single white shirt at Pike High School. Good penetration that time by Marks, and nothing came out of it, and last touch by the Red Devils. And Ed Siegel is not a happy man right now. His club has had numerous shots. Right now, Pike is hitting 7 of 21. That's 33%.
Now, they had that ball outside with really the defense not exerting too much pressure on them, but they can't get that 15-footer to drop.
2 minutes gone, second period. Shelton got the roll. Derek has all 6 of Mount Vernon's second period points. 5 minutes and 50 seconds to play in period number 2. And there you get to see Mount Vernon coming right out to the timeline to pick up Pike as soon as they hit there. 2.5 minutes gone, second period. On the baseline, Dunbar moved down deep in the corner. Nobody went down to get him, and Pat got his first 2 points. Indeed, the first 2 points for Pike in the second period.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to come alive outside. Dunbar may be the man. Rutland seemingly not able to get the shots here in the second quarter. There's a turnover. You know, Pike's defense would rather attack you half court than they would extend it on down the floor, and they have that half court trap situation down pretty well. But Mount Vernon has really handled it in a very outstanding fashion here in this first half. We have Mike Shelton back in the ball game now for Mount Vernon.
4-point lead for Mount Vernon. The Marauders of Jimmie Howell are 21-3 coming into this semi-state round. Dunbar went to the other side that time to no avail. Now here is Rutland from the free throw circle. And yanked out of there by Tony Long. Mount Vernon has convinced me, Tom, early in the game that those statistics we showed earlier with the rebounds they have are for real. Oh, good rebound by Ron Rutland. Now it's 3-on-2 the other way. Rutland takes it all the way in. The basket will not count. There was a foul right at the free throw stripe. And the foul is on number 40, Troy Cross, number 1 on him, and the 4th against the team.
Well, Pike's going to have to put it in play. It's not going to be a shooting situation as of yet. You have some scores, Jerry?
We got one in from Fort Wayne, which shows early in the contest 4-1. They're obviously just getting underway with Marion leading Rogers. And at West Lafayette, it's 17-11. Likewise, very early in that ball game with Carmel leading by half a dozen points. That may be a better game than a lot of people think. 4-point lead for the Mount Vernon Marauders against the Pike Red Devils in white.
Now they've got Gordon in the middle and Johnson running a low post right now. Let's see what they're going to do with this against the zone.
Rutland trying to shoot over it. Cannot. There's a wild collision. The ball goes down to Mount Vernon. The Marauders very wisely wait for the offense to catch up. Rankin and Shelton are the guards. Shelton had been out. Mike had been out for a while. They'll shoot long, and the rebound comes down into the hands of Billy Gordon.
I don't think that's the man that Jimmie Howell wants shooting the ball outside.
Aaron Marks inside to Marcus Johnson. Up, look at Billy Gordon. Half a dozen for Billy.
Good ball movement by Pike that time against the zone.
Pike is a patient ball club. They're not going to do anything really silly in the ball game, but obviously Ed Siegel would like not to have to fight the uphill battle. They had a tough game against Warren Central last Saturday night on this same floor. Rebound, tip free, finally chased down by Pat Dunbar. Dunbar gives the ball to Marcus Johnson. Johnson gets on the board. Second bucket for Marcus.
Hey, those are the baskets you really have to fight for, and in tight ball games, you have to pick up some of those, and those are also the kind of baskets that turn the tide one way or another. Mount Vernon's had a couple of them here in this first half.
Good position inside by Billy Gordon. Mount Vernon's 4-point lead is gone. We're tied at 20 with 2:55 to play in the first half.
Mount Vernon getting good shots also, but they're rushing them just a little bit. They really don't have to shoot it quite as quickly as they are doing.
Here is Gordon. It's good, and a foul call. And the foul is going to be on Long. And on Tony, number 2. Billy Gordon with good hang time that time as we look at it again.
Yeah, Gordon thought he might have this shot rejected. He didn't know what he was going to do it. He held it right there. Then he finally went up with it. Long backs into him. Picks up, well, they're going to call that foul on Rankin rather than Long. Number 1 on Rankin.
So nobody has more than one personal foul now for the Mount Vernon Marauders. Gordon with 9, 5 in this quarter, and a timeout will be taken with 2:47 to play. It's a 23-20 lead. Pike over Mount Vernon in the first half. Earlier we talked about the Mid-America Classic. Request for tickets mailed to Mid-America Classic, IHSAA office, 9150 North Meridian, P.O. Box 40650, Indianapolis 46240. Now the tickets are sold over the counter also at the IHSAA office, and what I didn't have information-wise earlier was they are $8 a piece, and all seats are reserved. Noblesville's Lady Millers have already won the right to play there, and they're still practicing and getting set with some exhibition games. And of course the boys winner will likewise advance against the Kentucky boys and girls state champions. Back to the matters at hand. Pike and Mount Vernon. The Marauders in the dark uniforms. School colors are old gold and white. And there is that shot again from Derek Shelton. Shelton is having a good second period. He has scored all 8 of Mount Vernon's points in the quarter, and he has 10 for the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a good thing for the Marauders. He's having a second quarter. Nobody else has been able to put the ball in the hoop.
2 minutes and 15 seconds remain here in the first half. Rutland scored, and Ron with 8. Pike has 4 players who have scored in the period. They don't have a thing out of their forwards, Marks or Supple, in the entire contest. Mike Shelton. First couple of points for Mike. He's not the, as Thomas suggested, not the strongest shooter. He hits only 39% on the year from the field. But with Tommy, you leave a guy open like they left him that time, you got to take the shot occasionally.
Well, the half-court pressure defense, they got a 3-on-2 situation. There's Ronnie Rutland coming back and hitting one from the corner.
Rutland averages 19-6. He has 10 so far in this ball game. He's the top field goal shooter on the club, hitting 57%. Back to a 3-point lead.
Now let's look at this half-court defense now. With a minute and a half to go in the period, they may not put as much pressure as they did previously. A lot of diagonal passes against it. There you see one right there. There's Shelton again.
Nice rebound by Derek Shelton. Derek Shelton is having himself an All-American second quarter here. He scored 10 points in the period, 12 on the game. Billy Gordon muscled inside, missed it, and Derek Shelton's got the rebound. Here is Cross right in front of us here. 45 seconds to play. A reach-in foul on Aaron Marks. He has 2. Now, one of the reasons they've got very little scoring out of the forwards, or none at all for that matter, is the fact that Matt Supple had to go to the bench with his 3rd personal foul. So he is out of there. They brought Marcus Johnson in. He has responded with a couple of field goals. And now going out of the ball game is 52. Tony Long with 4 points. They were 2 field goals, both coming in the first quarter.
Now, Mike Haynes is going to be the replacement for Long. We have 44 seconds remaining in the half, and Jimmie Howell is going to put Long on the bench.
Mount Vernon is 2 out of 4 from the free throw line. Now 3 out of 5 for Troy Cross. That's his 9th point. Troy filled it up in the first period, hitting 4 field goals almost in the identical spot on the left side of the lane. He averages 16-9. He's the top scorer on the team. Rebounded by Rutland. 42 seconds to play, first half. Tie ball game at 27. That is the 4th time it has been tied. And Pike will play pitch and catch, just moving it inside the hash marks. Not get caught with a closely guarded count.
Down to the final 25 seconds of the half. Tom, at halftime, we'll talk with George Groskopf, who is the athletic director retiring at Pike High School. Now we're 12 seconds away from the end of the first half, and Rutland and Marks begin their move. They come near side to Gordon. Gordon will take the shot and hit it. And Billy Gordon has scored 7 in the period, 11 in the game, and the clock shows 1 second to play in the first half. Well, they'll try to get one shot away before the first half buzzer sounds. It goes to Gross. It's good if it goes. Caught the backboard and the rim. So he darn near got it. So we're at halftime, and it's been a brutal affair. This is much like the first game. In the first game, it was Bloomington South leading by 1 at halftime. It's a 2-point differential here at halftime of the second game, with Pike leading by the score of 29-27. Some conversation over the scorer's bench. One of the officials stayed over there. Jimmie Howell was over chatting with the official, as was Ed Siegel. Now they walk off side by side toward the locker rooms. And at halftime, it is Pike up by 2, 29-27. The winner of this ball game will play Richmond tonight. We'll be on the air at 8 o'clock for the right to go to the Final Four. We'll be back with Tom's special halftime guest in just a moment.
It's our pleasure at halftime of the second game here this afternoon to welcome the athletic director at Pike High School, George Groskopf. George has been athletic director at Pike for many, many years, and George, I understand this is going to be your final year.
Yes, sir. Retiring this year. After 28 years at Pike High School, I think it's time to step down.
Have you spent all 28 years at Pike High School in the role of athletic director, or have you been involved in the coaching there?
I've been athletic director for 20 years. Before that, I coached a little football, basketball, and cross country and track. In fact, the first 2 years as athletic director, I still coached for several years.
Your community out there has certainly gone through a lot of changes, and I know that's affected the school community in the northwestern part of Marion County. Right now, what is your enrollment in the upper 4 grades?
We are 1,300 now, and we're one of the few in the county now that are still growing.
Your previous experience, however, came from some smaller schools before you got to Marion County. Give us a little of that background.
All right, I started out at Grass Creek, Indiana in 1950, a school that had 59 kids in the high school. And I stayed there for 3 years and then went to Rome City, Indiana. Spent 5 years there and then came down to Pike.
Your home originally was where?
Shortridge, Indianapolis boy, originally.
So you got back home.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this nice-looking straw hat you have on here.
It's a funny story in the hat. It's probably the only one you see up in the crowd, but I bought that 15 years ago to take up to the Lafayette Semi-State, and I left it at home and forgot it. So I got home and said, I'm going to put it in the box and wait for the next time we go to the Semi-State. So I pulled it out of the attic this morning.
Golly, it looks in very good shape, and I know you're proud to wear it here today. This has been a big thing for your school and the community on the northwest side.
It sure has. They're all excited over there.
Ed Siegel's been a big help to your athletic program, and I know as an athletic director, having coaches that are cooperative, that work hard at it, and have the respect of the community makes your job a lot easier.
Right. Ed's a fine coach. He does an excellent job. He's good community relations, and hey, he's first class with me.
What about your schedule now? Pike, I know, has been in various conferences. Right now, I think the suburban conference around the Marion County and surrounding area. Do you have real problems in putting together schedules? I know some schools find it difficult to do things in an area. You have a lot of schools close by. What's your general philosophy on that?
Well, we have no problem getting a schedule because in football we go round robin. And that takes care of 7 of our games right there, so we just have one outside of that. And in basketball, since we've had Siegel for a coach, they've been knocking on the door wanting to play us. And we try to mix it between the conference and a few outside games like Anderson Highland, Jeff Lafayette, but most of them right here in the area.
Are you in charge of the girls' athletic program also?
Yes, I am. I'm it. 20 sports we have.
Some of the people out there watching that may not understand all the role of the athletic director, or the various roles, I guess. Not only is it trying to get your coaches and one thing another organized, but transportation officials. What are some of the more difficult problems that you wind up with?
Getting help at contests is getting tougher and tougher. We have 53 teams when you include our freshman reserve, girls, boys, and all that. And when you have so many home contests as we do, we have, I think, 6 sectionals, 4 regionals, plus a number of conference and county meets there. getting enough help from a school that size or a faculty our size is tough.
Now, if this is going to be your final year, what plans do you have for yourself?
Why, sitting home watching Channel 4, of course. No, really. It's indefinite. I want to do a little traveling and fishing and sit down and watch the grass grow and the river go by for a while. And I may go back to work if I get itchy in a year or so, but right now I just want to retire.
Well, I know everyone involved with the athletic programs around Marion County and those that compete with Pike are certainly appreciative of the things that you've done over the years. And I'm glad you got to wear that hat today.
Oh, I am too. Maybe I'll save it and come back and wear it another year. Who knows?
Okay, thank you very much. That's George Grosskopf, the outstanding athletic director at Pike High School. And we'll be back with more basketball in a moment.
Jerry Baker and Tom Hession back at Hinkle Fieldhouse. That is the story here. It's really been a battle, and that score pretty indicative of what has transpired in the first half, 29-27. Other sites around the state, we're getting scores in now from West Lafayette. Well, let's go to Fort Wayne first. At Fort Wayne, it is Marion and Michigan City Rogers locked up in what could be a duel right to the wire, with the #1 ranked Giants out in front by that 3-point differential. That again is in the second quarter. At West Lafayette, the Carmel Greyhounds have surprised a lot of people to this point of the season, and they may be a factor to be dealt with in that semi-state up there. They are ahead by 5, and that is the halftime score at Lafayette. Anything you see there, Tom, surprise you in one of those scores?
No, not particularly. Wouldn't be anything as a new experience for Bob Hetty if he gets to the Final Four. He got there with Shenandoah a few years ago. He's the head basketball coach at Carmel and doing a fine job. Here are our stats of this ball game. And again, it's about as even as the score. I suppose the one glaring one right there, maybe 2 of them, the free throw percentages, although it's hardly indicative of anything, with Pike only attempting 1 from the stripe. But the turnovers, Pike 12-6 in the turnover category. And also Pike has had 6 more field goal attempts, and 44 to 42%.
Tom, let's go back for a moment and talk about the first game for those who might have been unable to be with us. In the first ball game, Richmond jumped out to a 7-point first quarter lead and led at the end of the period 16-9. They pushed the lead to 9 in the second quarter over Bloomington South, and it seemed to be on a roll. Then all of a sudden, things began to happen about halfway through the second period, and by halftime, Bloomington South had taken a 1-point lead, 29-28, and had all the momentum on their side going into the locker room. They came out in the third period and stretched the lead, did Bloomington South, to 8 points, and at the end of 3, Bloomington South led 6th-ranked Richmond 43-41. The time in the fourth period, Woody Austin finally came to play. We knew he would be there eventually. He had 9 points in the period and led Richmond to a 60-54 win, and Austin led the scoring with 19 points for Richmond. Good ball game.
Yes, I think 2 factors. One you've just pointed up. Austin winds up with 17, which him coming alive was a big factor. And Lawson playing 21 minutes, the big 6'10 center for South. He had to be out for 11 minutes, partially because of foul difficulty, and then when he fouled out with 4:55 to go, that was a telling blow for South.
All right, they gave 17 points total to Austin. Somewhere along the way, there's a discrepancy in our score sheets. I showed him with 19.
Well, I had 17 on mine.
All right, well, obviously I'm outnumbered 2-1. So we'll go with that then. It was Coleman with 18 points. Still with 10.
It's going to be Mount Vernon having the first possession, I believe, in this second. No, it's going to be Pike. Pike's going to have the first possession.
Well, here's the problem. If you'll add these up, they don't come up to unless I've misadded here, they don't come up to the proper total.
Well, regardless, Richmond will play tonight.
Point well made. Now back to the action. I want to double check that, though. I think that official sheet is a couple of points shy. Not that it matters. Second half is underway. Richmond with the basketball, and they will have the same guard combination. Now the ball is taken away, but saved by Matt Supple, who is back in that lineup now with 3 personal fouls. Here is Dunbar. Missing. Rebound, Tony Long. 30 seconds into the second half of this basketball game. Here's a walking violation. I would assume by now, Tom Hession, that Richmond and George Griffith and that gang have headed back to the motel and maybe indeed tuned in to watch our second game here. And they'll have a couple of hours jump on the winner of this ball game. And our telecast coverage tonight begins at 8 o'clock with the tip-off slated for somewhere around 8:15. 40 seconds into the second half. Supple got 3 personal fouls early in this game. The starting forward had to go to the bench and sit next to Coach Ed Siegel, but he started him here in the second half of play. Billy Gordon. Now here's Dunbar. And the rebound pulled out by Mike Shelton. It'll be Shelton and Rankin at guard for Mount Vernon. Tony Long in the middle. And it'll be Troy Cross and Derek Shelton at the forward spots. The original starting 5 for the Marauders at Mount Vernon High School. White shirts everywhere. There is Supple's value. He's not going to score many points, less than 6 a game, but he is really a tough nut to crack, especially off the defensive boards. And there's the outside shot of Ron Rutland, and he has 12 points in the game. He is the top scorer now for Pike.
He has an awfully nice touch, shoots the ball softly, and he really has not had an outstanding day shooting, but he's the kind that can run off 4 or 5 in a row and really put you in a bad situation.
Cross hitting Troy with 11. Cross hit most of his first half points on the other side of the free throw area. Now he moves over to the right side. Maybe just likes this side of the floor. He's going the other way. This becomes his favorite side. 31-29.
Well, I think they try to find a spot against the Pike zone where he may be most effective, depending upon how Pike's movement is against the various types of ball situations that Mount Vernon presents them.
Oh, nice play by Derek Shelton. Around Supple, off the board and missing, and the rebound comes off to Matt Supple. Pike got a break there because Mount Vernon really played well. Basket is up. Walking violation.
Yeah, Coach Ed Siegel across the way didn't like to believe that. He thought his man might have been fouled.
Tim Cox coming in now for Mount Vernon. Here's the play again.
Watch Derek Shelton. He gets around number 24, or not Dunbar, but Supple there. Missed a tough situation. But Derek Shelton has shown us a tremendous amount of hustle and some real results offensively, particularly in that second quarter.
Tim Cox has come in and gone down to a forward spot, and they had moved momentarily anyway. Derek Shelton out to the guard. There's Shelton moving inside. He has 14.
They like to flash him into the high post and keep Long down low.
Tie ball game at 31. That's the 5th tie of this contest.
Hey, Gordon just got by with a pass that probably should have been intercepted.
Three minutes gone, second half. And that's Matt Supple moving outside. First 2 points of the contest for Matt Supple. Averaging 5'8", 3.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per contest. Kicked away by Supple right in front of us here, so the ball belongs to Mount Vernon.
It has to be of some concern for Ed Siegel, the lack of offensive productivity by Pat Dunbar in the tournament thus far.
Dunbar, we mentioned earlier, was battling the flu bug, but they're going to have some output from him. Here's the rebound by Marcus Johnson, and the steal back by Mount Vernon.
Well, Rankin got in the right spot there to pull away with that pass. Very alert ball player.
Well, I like the way this Derek Shelton plays the game too, Tom. Here's Cross. Rebounded by Cox. Tim Cox, first 2 points. Averages 3 per. Here's a foul on Chris Rankin. Tom was making reference to the lack of scoring output by Pat Dunbar. Dunbar averaging 13-2 coming into the game. Now, Tom, in the sectional, he scored 41 points in 3 games. Games of 19, 12, and 10. Then came that virus, and he moved on to make it 42 points for Dunbar. Games of 9, 16, and 17. He scored only 6 points in the regional as Rutland hits outside for his 14th point. He had a 4-point game on Friday night and only 2 in the Saturday contest. So you're right, they need help from there. We've got a final from Evansville. We'll pass along at the next opportunity here. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to play in this third period. 35-33. Pike out in front. Cross got around the baseline, and Johnson did a great job defending him. And we'll bring it back the other way.
It's one of the few times Cross has tried to take the ball to the basket. He's usually settled for the shot outside. There's a fine effort by Chris Rankin.
Rankin's been rather unheralded in this ball game. He has not scored. They lob it inside. Shelton picks up the loose ball and follows it up. Derek Shelton with a total of 16 points in the contest. He had a 10-point second period, 4 here in the third, and we're tied at 35.
Derek looks like one of those Marines that just hit the beach and he's ready to play.
He really does. Here's the outside shot by Rutland. He has 16. Part of that, Tom, is the dark shoes that Mount Vernon wears. You know, there is something to say for the atmosphere that it sets up. It doesn't slow them down. They just look like you better not mess with them. Rankin, good pass baseline.
Yeah, that was a good movement, a nice pass. They had their shooter in the right spot.
Troy Cross is the shooter, 13 points, 4th point of the period. And again, the pressure. We're tied at 37. 2.5 minutes to play, third period. Marcus Johnson. Matt Supple should get credit for half that point, Tom, because he's the guy that caught the pass and got it away in a hurry. 2:10 to play, third period. Nobody's been able to get much of a lead. Pike's biggest lead is 4. Well, so is Mount Vernon's for that matter. Inside 2 minutes. Here is Cross. 15 points for Troy Cross. Ball game at 39. The 4th time it's been tied this period. Supple missing. Shelton with the rebound. Derek Shelton. Lobs it up court deep to Troney Long, and Long is fouled. Marcus Johnson appeals his case, and very quickly Supple gets him out of there. Marcus' first personal foul.
Well, Marcus thought he had the block, and the official thought otherwise. We're going to have free throw attempts here by Tony Long. You have a score for us?
Yeah, down in Evansville. Just got the final score in, and Bedford North Lawrence is still alive. They have defeated North Harrison 70-53. And that second ball game at Evansville is Evansville Memorial and Terre Haute North. North ranked 3rd in both polls. Evansville Memorial 4th in one and 5th in the other. And we got a score in now from the Fort Wayne Semi-State, which shows Marion leading Michigan City Rogers 34-31 at halftime. So Bedford North Lawrence wins it. Long missing, and after hitting the first one, he has 5 points now. You seen Damon Bailey play yet this year, Tom?
No, I haven't had the opportunity, but I've talked to several people that have, and they've all come away extremely impressed with his ability to be a really controlling factor in a basketball game as a freshman.
Timeout has been taken with 1:32 to play in the third period. It is now a 40-39 basketball game. Pike out in front by 1. And they grow the fans young in the Mount Vernon area.
Well, that guy's out there. He's got every button, I think, that they've issued this year. And this is the day he's not going to forget soon.
I think I gave you the score wrong a second ago. Mount Vernon has gone out in front by 1. Pike is now shooting 14-33 for 45%. Mount Vernon hitting on 18 of 39 for 46%. 1 point lead for Mount Vernon. They trail by 4 a couple of minutes back.
Now, this is the kind of ball game where any 2-minute segment here can put you in good shape or maybe bury you.
Bad done by Ron Rutland. Got the pick by Billy Gordon. Took the shot and missed it, but a foul is called.
The Pike's had a lot of those, you know, today. That they've had the ball on the rim and it's fallen off.
Well, we talked about that in the first game, Tom. The ball seems to be hitting the rims, and they're really alive today. Here's a look at it again.
Rutland makes a good move. He's going to take the shot. And look at it on the rim here. He banks it off. It looks like it's in the right position. Rolls across the rim again. Won't fall. And a foul is on Troy Cross. And that's his third. He's going to go to the bench, and that will put Mike Haynes on the floor. Let's see who's going to pick up the offensive slack. Cross has 3 baskets in this quarter, but Derek Shelton did it in period number 2.
At the free throw line is Ron Rutland. Rutland has had 41 points in the sectional. and 43 in the regional here at Big Hinkle Fieldhouse. He had 22 points in the win over Southport and came back with 21 on Saturday night in the victory over Warren Central.
Well, he's a 6-foot senior, and he missed both free throws.
And he is the top free throw shooter on the ball club at 78%. Pike's only had 3 free throws, and they're 1 out of 3. Inside a minute in the third period. Bounced down low and tossed back out. Finally chased down. Rankin comes to get it. 45 seconds to go, third period.
Long is not going to get his hands on the ball quite as often. Terrence Gates, who's also 6 feet 8 inches tall, he's a junior. He's in the middle, playing the defense, number 44 for Pike.
Now we're down to 25 seconds to go in the third quarter. 40-39. Mount Vernon has the lead by 1. Neither club's been able to shake the other for any extensive period of time, but they got a lead. It never got more than 4, and very quickly the other club would come back. Now we're down to 11 seconds to play. Now
we're going to see some movement now.
And a foul, and Gates, I believe, get hit with a personal foul.
The second time that Derek Shelton has taken it right at a big man. It was Johnson previously. We're going to see him come in from the baseline on the left. And here comes Derek Shelton. He's 6 feet tall, and Terrence Gates is 6'8". And he had to kind of shoot that ball from behind the board. Probably wouldn't have gone in, but Gates got the contact.
He's almost guilty by association. He's there, right. And the foul is going to be called. Shelton 2 out of 3 from the line. Has not been there in the third period. 16 points for the 6-foot junior with a 12.5 per game scoring average. Well, the forwards have done the job for Mount Vernon. Shelton now with 17. Cross has 15. Only 2 points total out of the guard spots of Rankin and Shelton, of Mike Shelton. A 3-point lead for Mount Vernon. Final seconds of the third period. Thrown in now to Terrence Gates. And Gates has it deflected away with 1 second to play. It's off the mark, and we've gone through 3. And the Pike Red Devils find themselves down by 3 after leading by 4 earlier in the period. Mount Vernon's for real. We go into the final 8 minutes, leading 42-39. Back at Hinkle Fieldhouse, Jerry Baker, Tom Hession, final 8 minutes of this basketball game. And those who have not seen Mount Vernon play this year, Tom, might have wondered, well, can the little bitty school come and beat the big school? Well, they've proved themselves capable of staying with them anyway.
Well, they are, and they're a good basketball team. That's no mistake about it. And they have a very confident posture right now as they go into this final period up by 3. Pike has had some tough luck on their shooting, but it's been a ball game in which we've seen these clubs battle each other fairly evenly, and certainly anybody's game going into this final period.
Pike is shooting now 19-42 for 45%. They're down by 3. There's a good steal by Marcus Johnson, who's back in the lineup now. They have taken Terrence Gates out, put Marcus Johnson in. They are both 6'8".
Yeah, they wanted to lob the ball over the top to Long down low, but it's pretty hard to lob it over 6'8".
You see Billy Gordon, number 42, right at the free throw line. They'll work the plays off of him. Now they go to Pat Dunbar. Here's the rebound on the near side. Johnson can't get it, and the rebound comes to Derek Shelton. And a foul called on that rebound, and it's called on Aaron Marks. He shows 3 on my score sheet. Supple shows 3 also. And for Mount Vernon, Troy Cross. Here's the numbers through 3.
Well, you see the field goal percentage is just even as can be. Free throws, 7 more attempted by Mount Vernon. Rebounds and turnovers even, and that's the story of the ball game. It's
it really
an even contest.
It was 14 all at the end of the first quarter. 29-27 Pike at halftime. 42-39 Mount Vernon after 3, and we're just getting underway in the 4th and final period. The winner gets Richmond for the right to go to the Final 4. Good move to the baseline. Deflected away. Put up once and no good, and a foul call. Indications are it'll be on Aaron Marks. If so, that's 4.
Well, they get the ball to Tony Long. There's Derek Shelton right here. He shoots it up. Now, Tony Long gets it off the board, goes up with a shot, and he's kind of surrounded in there by Jones, Gordon, and Aaron Marks, and the foul is on Marks, his 4th.
Now we'll get a change to the lineup. Marks will come out of there. Aaron has not scored in the ball game. He averages a little less than 4 per. Supple comes in. We'll take a timeout. with 7:11 to play in this ball game. It is now Mount Vernon 42, Pike 39.
I know it hurts. And right now it might be hard to understand. The school board might not say so. But you won tonight, and you won something far more important than just a game. So I just saw a bunch of my kids play their hearts out for 32 minutes. You gave it everything. You didn't hold back. That's desire, pride, personal achievement. You measure these things on a different kind of scoreboard. You measure these things right here. Boy, it counts. These are the victories we won tonight. These are the reasons we play the game.
Hooks believes there's more to sports than just good health. The lessons we learn from athletics last a lifetime.
All right, now let's go back to this first game a minute here. I lost the argument a while ago to you about the official stats.
Yes.
Now, what do you say now?
I wasn't arguing with you about
Yes, you were. You were trying to create a problem.
The official stats said 17 points for Austin.
And your score sheet said 17.
And my score sheet said 17. That's right.
And what was correct?
Well, I don't know. They're 2 points short. Now, whether those should belong to Austin or not, we're trying to search that.
John Osler is the official stat man across the way. He hooked up with Gary Ross, who's sitting next to me, and they're talking amongst themselves. And Tom and I have no idea what they're saying, but it can't be good. Tony Long misses at the free throw strike. Tony is now 1 for 4 from that free throw line today. He's a 57% shooter from there. Rebounded by Johnson. Still a 3-point lead for Mount Vernon. No scoring yet in this fourth period, almost a minute old.
Well, that's a couple of tough free throws to miss at this stage of the ball game. Long averaging 16.5, but Pike has really held him in tow.
Supple at the free throw stripe. Matt Supple's second bucket, 4th point. Supple averaging 5.8 per contest.
Pike still being very aggressive with their defense.
42-41. Mount Vernon leads by 1. 6 minutes, 35 seconds to play in this basketball game. The Richmond Red Devils are long since gone. They have won their ball game, defeating Bloomington South earlier today for the right to advance to the championship game tonight. Once again, that Richmond outfit in the final 8. Long rebound, picked off in there by Ron Rutland. A mad dash up the sideline, and a blocking foul is called. It'll be on Chris Rankin, and that is the 3rd.
There's a shot taken from the right-hand wing by Cross. You see the rebound being contested, and the ball gets knocked away. Rutland picks it up, and they go down in a heap with Chris Rankin, number 10, being whistled for the foul, and Pike has the possession, and we have both ball clubs now in the bonus situation.
Final score of the first game, by the way, 60-54. Bloomington South played one heck of a basketball game. Led at halftime, as a matter of fact. 42-41. Pike trails by 1. Here is Rutland. Got it. Ron's 18th point of the game. Now it's a 1-point lead for Pike. 6 minutes to play in the contest. Plenty of time. Here is Cross moving inside. Shot is off the back of the rim. It'll be a foul called against Mount Vernon. Indications are Tony Long. And I've got him for 2.
Well, here's a situation you're going to see Troy Cross really go after Marcus Johnson here. Marcus is number 40 on the defense in the white uniform. Troy Cross 40 on the offense. No call there. And then on the checking away from the board situation, it was a foul called on Tony Long. And Tony really, as I said, averaging 16.5 coming into the ball game. A little frustrated right here. He's had some difficulty at the free throw line, and the ball just hasn't dropped for him.
Ron Rutland, co-captain, a pure point guard that does it all. That's the Ed Siegel quote. He was all sectional, all regional, all Marion County tournament, which Pike won. And Ed regards him as a top college prospect. He's been the leading scorer in 18 games this year, and the Marion County Basketball Coaches Association named Ron Rutland their Player of the Year.
I think it's interesting to see where he has him playing offensively against the zone. We'll try to catch that the next time Pike has it on the offense.
Pike's got a 2-point lead now with 5 minutes and 48 seconds to play in this ball game. We'll update those other semi-state scores for you. We have a dead ball opportunity. Great defensive play turned in by Marcus Johnson. You know, Tom, you're just not used to a high school kid after you played 24 games of running in the middle and seeing a 6'8" guy waiting on you in there. It becomes a problem.
Oh, there's a big play.
The foul is against Pike. The basket will not count, apparently. Holding foul. And the basket doesn't count.
The foul's going to be on Billy Gordon. And on Billy, that's his second, and that was an unusual situation. I thought we probably would have a good basket. Derek Shelton will go to the line. He's going to have to get his points there.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. I'm a little surprised at the lack of basket call. Shelton will get a couple of, well, he can't get two. It'll have to be a 1-and-1. 19 points for Derek, who averages 12-4.
Talking about Marcus Johnson and what you can't do inside with his defensive presence. I think we've seen a couple of big sophomores. 6'10" Chris Lawson of South in game 1, and he was a instrumental factor in South's ability to stay with Richmond
just by being in the game and nothing else. 20 points for Derek Shelton. He's the top scorer in the game. Ron Rutland leads Pike with 19. Supple lost the ball. Fortunately for Pike, Billy Gordon was in the area. Tie ball game at 44. Johnson missed the stop.
Well, there's a foul on Tony Long, which is a big call for Pike. Rutland again penetrates, looks one way, passes back to Marcus Johnson, who's going to try and stuff the ball right here. Ball flies off the rim, no basket, but Tony Long commits the foul, and that's 3 on Long.
Marcus Johnson goes to the free throw line. He made the all-sectional team. Ed says he is the most improved player on the squad and developed into a valuable part of the team in February, so he was a late bloomer. At West Lafayette, third quarter, Lafayette Catholic and Carmel. The Greyhounds of Carmel are leading now by 11, 35-24. At Fort Wayne, it is Marion in the third quarter clinging to a 3-point lead. There's the Lafayette Semi-State score. At Fort Wayne, Marion up by 3, 35-32. We jump down to Evansville, and Terre Haute North is leading by a deuce over Evansville Memorial. They're in the second quarter down there. There you see the score, 24-22. Bedford North Lawrence won the first ball game down there, by the way. Johnson now has scored 8 points in this ball game. His average is 7-8. He's played in only 11 games this year. 46-44, back to a 2-point margin for Pike with 5:15 to play in the contest.
Seems as though Mount Vernon has pretty much leaned on Troy Cross this last period to do most everything. There he gets it again, makes a move. That's going to be number 4 on Matt Supple, Jerry.
Gary Ross hands me a stat that says Derek Shelton for Mount Vernon has now picked up 20 points and 10 rebounds.
Here goes Cross. He's trying to drive the baseline, and Supple makes the contact. That's 4th personal foul on Pike's Matt Supple. Started to say Cross seems to be the one they're looking to do virtually everything offensively against this Pike zone.
Troy Cross, 79 points in the tournament, 43 in the regional, 36 in the sectional, and Jimmie Howell says he should be under consideration for the All-Star team. He's a good shooter, and Jimmy says he got 22-foot range, which they haven't had much chance to use today, but he has that ability. .46-45 basketball game. Now we're just moving inside the 5-minute mark. Ross penetrating and just rejected by Johnson.
Marcus Johnson again. Once more, Cross had to make the move. They threw the ball around the outside, the perimeter, and he tried to take it inside, and Jimmie Howell wants to talk it over.
Indeed. Clock showing exactly 4:44 to play. We're in the 4th and final period. It's a nip and tuck affair. Pike is up by 1 right now, 46-45. Well, it's been a busy day here at Hinkle Fieldhouse today, and it doesn't cool off any because tonight Richmond's Red Devils come back, and they got the winner of this ball game. And right now, Tom Hession, that's really up in the air.
Well, it most certainly is. Both ball clubs have demonstrated that they can get some advantages on the other in certain phases of the game, but they come right back, and the other team has been able to move on top at various times. So it's a contest.
Neither team can get much breathing room. The biggest lead has been 4.
No, and there's not going to be many instances the rest of the way where there's any breathing room.
Cross being harassed by Rutland. You got to go out and get Cross because he can take that outside shot. Shelton in the middle. Had it deflected away. It was an air ball going up, actually, and Rutland knocked it out of bounds. And Yes, we have not made mention of this. Mike Shelton and Derek Shelton are brothers.
Mount Vernon really having a difficult time with their offense now in the half-court game. They're really not able to do much, and Marcus Johnson's been the key to that.
Have we seen Pike out of the zone today, Tom?
No, they've been in the zone, different phases of it, from a half-court trap and full court.
Super defensive play by Rutland and an inadvertent foul called on Cross, and I show Troy now with his fourth. This is the second television game we've done of Pike, Tom, because we saw them last week in the regional. As we take a look at it again, and we haven't seen him go out of the zone in any game so far.
No. Here again, Rutland with the good hands deflects the ball away, and then as he's trying to get complete control of it, Cross knocks him off his feet, and Rutland's going to be at the free throw line. But the offensive problems that Mount Vernon is going through right now are very serious ones at this stage of the ball game, and they really can do nothing very positive against Pike at the moment.
Ron Rutland with 19 points in the contest is not having a good day at the free throw line. He is 1 out of 5. Still a 1-point lead. We're halfway through the fourth period. Both cheering sections, Richmond, or Pike and Mount Vernon, are standing on sections directly across from each other. Well, Richmond brought a ton of people to this ball game today, and they'll be back tonight to watch their ball club try to pick up a semi-state championship and move to Market Square Arena next Saturday.
See, they're just working the perimeter. They can't get the ball in any shooting position whatsoever. They've got Cross on the other side right now, hoping to free him in a moment.
You know what's happening in their time? They put Marcus Johnson low in the middle, and he just clogs things up.
Well, in the second quarter, they were able to get Derek Shelton in a high post position, get him the ball with long low, but they can't get the ball in there, and if they do, Marcus takes away any Marcus Johnson, I'm speaking of, takes away any effectiveness that they were able to have at one time.
And again, now they do get it inside. That is one of the strongest moves of the game by Tony Long. He has 7. They did exactly what Tom and I were thinking perhaps they couldn't do.
Well, I'll tell you what, they moved Cross up the top at the point guard spot. And there they deflect the ball and have it right back.
1-point lead from Mount Vernon. Shelton takes the shot and scores. Derek Shelton is having a great ball game.
Now that's where they're most effective, right there. They get the ball off the turnover. Mount Vernon has been very effective playing that kind of game.
Ron Rutland nowhere to go. Bounced inside to Dunbar, who missed the easy layup. Dunbar actually got inside almost too low and had to reach back outside. Now Dunbar makes the steal at the other end. Here comes Dunbar and Rutland. They have the big guy, Marcus Johnson, posted low left side. Outside shot, rings and comes out of there. Loose ball on the floor, picked up by Johnson, lost it away again. Now finally picked up by Tony Long. And a foul on number 12, Dunbar.
Now Dunbar committed the foul. Marcus Johnson picked up the loose ball, and we're going to see him try to dribble the ball. Here the ball comes off. It's deflected. Loose on the floor. Johnson finally picks it up. Instead of turning around throwing it out, he's going to try and dribble. Maybe it was deflected away. And there's the foul you saw right there. Dunbar against Long. And right now, Mount Vernon with a couple of sequences down here. They move Cross at the top of the circle, the point guard. And that split the defense just for a moment. They're trying to adjust to the change in the positions. And they found Long down low for one basket. Then they came back and deflected a pass. And when they deflect a pass and are able to run with it up and down the floor, that's their best game. And Derek Shelton showed you why when he got off-balance shot in the lane and was able to get it to drop.
Let's take a second and acknowledge the coaches in this ball game today. Ed Siegel, in his 17th year as the head coach at Pike, has won 231 games and lost 152 for a winning percentage of 60%. His assistants, Ron Iwema, Larry Salzman, Mike Linville, and Joe O'Black. Jimmie Howell, in his 6th year at Mount Vernon, won his 100th game in that championship game of the regional last Saturday, so he is 137, 73%. And his assistants are Randy Wilson and Bernie Campbell. We'll acknowledge those guys because they put in a lot of hours, do a lot of work. Going into the final 2:29, it is Pike shooting now 21 of 48 for 44%. Mount Vernon is hitting 20 of 47, 43%. Rebounds, the advantage belongs to Mount Vernon, 34-30. Pike has turned the ball over only 7 times. Mount Vernon 10 times. at the free throw line. Mount Vernon is 9 of 16, and Pike is 4 of only 8 trips to that free throw stripe this afternoon. And here is Long for Mount Vernon. Tony, 1 out of 4. Big possession here, I would think, Tom Hession, for Pike's Red Devils.
Well, let's see what we're going to do with the basketball.
Rutland and Dunbar will handle the basketball most of the time under these conditions. They bring Supple up now on the high post. Here is Rutland. Long rebound picked up by Marcus Johnson. And the rebound now snared by Troy Cross. Mount Vernon gave Pike 3 opportunities. As when they missed the third one, that was all she wrote. Boy, a bucket here from Mount Vernon might really be a giant hoop.
Well, I don't think they're going to try and force the issue at this point. I think they're going to try and control the basketball outside and take only the sure thing.
This is Tim Cox, who came off the bench, one of only 2 subs for Jimmie Howell. All by himself inside of a great feed is Troy Cross. Is it Cox that got it to him? Great pass.
Yes, Cox from outside.
That is the biggest lead of the ball game for Mount Vernon at 5. With 1 minute and 22 seconds to play. Ron Rutland inside. Basket is good and the foul is called. I believe the foul will be on Chris Rankin.
Well, what a job Ron Rutland did right there. When you had to have the basket. Watch him weave his way through. Gets by Cross. Makes a fake. Gets Long off his feet. Banks it in. I'll tell you, when you've got to have a basket, you want the ball in the hands of those kind of people, and he's been that kind all year.
Pike in the 4th period, Thomas, scored 9 points, and Rutland has 5 of the 9. He could get his 6th of 10 right here and pull Pike back to within 2 again.
See what Jimmie Howell decides to do after the free throw, whether it's made or missed on the offense, whether he's going to continue to use the clock or make his offense an aggressive one.
Rutland really had a tough way to go at the free throw line. I show him now 1 for 7. Oh, the graphic showed 1 for 5, but I showed him 1 for 7. Here's the foul on Marcus Johnson. Free throw stripe has not been kind to Pike. And the other side of the issue, they have not gone to the free throw line very much. Now another timeout. Pike will take this one. 51-48 is the score. It is the Mount Vernon Marauders leading by that 3-point differential on the 5-point margin. They had a couple of shakes ago. Was the biggest of the ball game.
Yeah, neither team has been outstanding at the free throw line, and this remaining minute 7 might be some key free throw shooting that makes a difference. Pike has no choice but to do what they just did. They committed the foul. They cannot let the Marauders run this clock down on them.
Unofficially in the 4th period, Tom, free throw shooting wise, Mount Vernon is 3 out of 6. And I show Pike now 3 out of 7.
Well, I show Pike 3 out of 6 and Mount Vernon 3 out of 7.
All right. Well, we're somewhere in that vicinity anyway. The important point is what's on the scoreboard right now, which is a 51-48 lead. At the end of the first quarter, it was a 14-all ball game. Pike had taken a 4-point lead early in the contest. Mount Vernon came back and tied it at 14. Then in the second period, it was Pike moving out in front 29-27. Actually, Mount Vernon had taken a 4-point lead in that second period. We at the halfway mark, it was a 2-point lead in favor of Pike. After 3, Mount Vernon had come back to grab the lead themselves, 42-39. And now in the 4th period, with about a minute and a half to go, Mount Vernon had jumped into a 5-point lead, their biggest of the afternoon. A field goal by Rutland. He missed the end of the 3-point play. Makes it now where it stands a 51-48 ball game with Long going to the free throw line for Mount Vernon.
Well, he's had his problems here at the line, too.
At that time, that's a big one. Without the 3-point play in high school basketball, it's pretty tough to make up any kind of a deficit, where in college ball, a couple of shots and you're right back in this thing again.
Well, if he hits this one, Pike has to have 3 possessions.
And he does. And it's a 53-48 ball game. 5-point lead again. 1 minute and 2 seconds to play. Rebounded by Johnson, and he may have picked up the foul. And he did. Marcus Johnson's 3rd personal foul.
Well, it's Derek Shelton again that has the good position. And he's just had a tremendous basketball game. There's Dunbar's shot, and we indicated his problems. Look at Derek inside. Johnson up over the top. Deflected the ball but made contact. Well, Derek Shelton's going to be at the strike.
Your point was well made, Tom. Johnson that time tried to use the height to more or less bully his way in for the rebound rather than working into position to get the rebound. Now with 58 seconds to play, Mount Vernon appears to be on its way to its first ever semi-state championship game. They've never been out of the regional before. And Jimmie Howell has done an outstanding job. And so has this guy at the line. I show him with 23 points. That's almost double his average of 12-4. Now a change. Aaron March back in for the Pike Red Devils. Supple will go out.
Well, if he makes this one, Mount Vernon's going to have to make some mistakes to lose it at that point.
They almost have to lose the game rather
right.
than Pike winning the ball game, because they are really in the driver's seat now. Shelton got them both. And he has doubled his scoring average up to 24. 55 seconds to play. Ron Rutland having a great fourth period, and a timeout is taken again. Rutland now with 23, including 7 in this period. Rutland got off to a terribly slow start in the first half. He had 6 points in the first quarter, then just disappeared for a while. Had a couple of buckets in the second period, then came back with 3 more in the third. So he's had, I guess for him, a pretty good ball game. And again, Tom, you and I talked about this earlier, and it's still happening. Pat Dunbar has not contributed but 4 points in this game.
No, he's had a very difficult 2 weeks of tournament play. His shooting has been not off by great distances, but certainly when you don't put it in the hole, it might as well be a great distance. And that's been a big disappointment, I know, for Ed Siegel and the Red Devils from Pike.
Pat was the leading scorer in 11 games this year, and we mentioned he had 42 points in the sectional, and then in the regional had only 6 points, 4 in the first game, and then 2 in the other, and today 4 points again.
A lot of ball games like this come down to free throw shooting at this point. And in this fourth quarter, of course, the last 2 situations at each end, 1 at each end, Shelton hit his 2, and Rutland came down and couldn't collect on his. So we're going to have Mount Vernon back at the free throw line. And a couple of free throws, of course, are very big. 55 to 50.
We show Pike unofficially now 4 out of 9 from the free throw stripe. Update the scoring here. Lafayette Central Catholic has apparently come back to beat Carmel 56 to 55. Well, that must have been a great ball game. And Marion at the end of 3 leads Michigan City Rogers 58-44.
No free throw here.
Now the full court pressure. They come. Oh, they broke him free. That is Chris Rankin for the layup. Blocked away beautifully by Rutland. Rankin had to wait and let the first surge come by. It was Billy Gordon. And when he did, Rutland was right behind. 46 seconds in the basketball game.
Well, a good job of setting up the inbound situation. And I know that Jimmie Howell is tickled to death to have the basketball, but he sure would have liked a basket on that.
Timeout will be taken by Mount Vernon. That's similar to the play we saw, Tom, last week. Pike used against Warren Central.
Yeah, they ran Rutland long on the throw-in out of a box situation at their defensive end. Mount Vernon wanted a timeout. I think the number 10, Chris Rankin, was a little excited that they might not get the ball in on the 5 count, and he wanted to make things very sure that they had a chance to get reorganized.
Yeah, that's a new rule this year, by the way. You get the full 5. It used to be once the count hit 4, you couldn't call the timeout. Now you can use the entire 5-second allotted. Well, in scoring-wise, Pike is being led by Ron Rutland with 23. The only other player in double figures is Billy Gordon with 11, and Gordon hasn't scored a point in the second half, nor has Pat Dunbar. And for Mount Vernon, a great ball game out of Derek Shelton with 24. Troy Cross has picked up 18 points. Well, the forwards have done the job for the Marauders today.
Yeah, Cross has just been outstanding with his shooting from the outside, and then Derek Shelton scrapping, fighting, clawing to get inside, maintaining good balance, good concentration. Had a terrific ball game.
A lot can happen in 46 seconds. It's taken a long time to play the 9 seconds prior to this 46-second mark. It seems like it's been inside of a minute for about 15 minutes. Now Mount Vernon with a rather important possession for them. Even though they're truly in command of the basketball game, they've got it inside to Shelton now. He'll bring it out long range, and here's the foul. Billy Gordon.
Well, of course, Pike's in a position they cannot allow too many seconds to run off with Mount Vernon in possession, so Gordon commits the foul, and it becomes a game of free throw shooters.
So Danger Tom is committing that intentional foul, which is 2 shots and the basketball. So you got to be a little clever with your intentional fouls. Derek Shelton.
Oh, he's 7 in a row. Well, 9. He said he's last 9 in a row after missing his first, as far as my stats.
Yeah, that's
show.
correct. 25 points for Shelton. Young man has had himself a all-star type day. Only a junior, a 6-footer. Mount Vernon has done the job at the free throw stripe in the 4th period. They only had 3 field goals in the quarter. Here is a tripping foul, inadvertently so, but the foul called on Derek Shelton, who just kind of looks back over his shoulder in disgust. He knew it was there, waiting for the whistle to sound.
Boy, as badly as you try, sometimes you can't avoid a personal foul.
Yep.
That's the last thing Mount Vernon wants, is to commit a foul, and Derek, of course, trying to stay away from it. Feet got tangled up, and the man went down, and they're going to put Aaron Marks at the free throw line.
Last year, Mount Vernon was 17-6 and lost to Greensburg in the Newcastle Regional by 3, 66-63. But the JV squad last year was 18-2. There's a lot of that showing on the floor today. I show Aaron Marks, Tom, with his first point of the game.
That's it. He's been very quiet today, not only offensively, but he hasn't been on the board very much either.
The average is about 3.5 per contest. The Pike Red Devils have gotten so far in this game only 5 points out of their forwards. Now we're down to 39 seconds to play and still a 5-point lead for the Mount Vernon Marauders. That 7-point lead was the biggest anybody had in the ball game. Now they're going to kill some time. Playing keep away. Here is Cox. To Rankin, deep in the corner, now in the middle, and a foul. And a collision with Billy Gordon picking up his 4th personal foul. Well, the game of chase was on. You simply got to go get him and foul him and try not to get the intentional foul call. They're going to call a 1-and-1, much to the dismay of Jimmie Howell and the Mount Vernon bench over there. You know it's an intentional foul, but
yeah, it looked a little worse than it was. Gordon was trying to hold up Shelton. It looked like he might have been tackling him because Shelton lost his balance and they both went down.
Yeah, he was trying not to hurt the guy, yet commit the personal foul. It's the wrong guy to have on the line, I'll tell you that.
Well, Jimmie Howell's done a good job. They kept the floor spread that time so they could throw the pass long, force the defense to chase.
I show Derek Shelton 7 out of 7 from the stripe in this period. 9 points in the quarter, 27 in the ball game, and 28. 23 seconds to play. It looks like Mount Vernon and Richmond for the championship tonight. Pat Dunbar now with 6. Final 15 seconds of this basketball game. 59-54 and another foul right in front of Ed Siegel and the Red Devils bench. If that's on Supple, that'll be it. And it is. And Supple goes out to shake hands with the Mount Vernon players. Touch of class. Ed Siegel obviously in dismay. He thought this was going to be the year he might get that shot at the Final Four. He also tells me, Tom, that he's got some kids coming up that may prove things even brighter in the future.
Oh, he'll be ready to go in another week. He'll be ready to start playing.
Give him about a week off. Shake out the
Do you think
dismay.
You think there'll be some more people from the Fort Mill area make their way in here tonight?
I would hope so. There's plenty of room, by the way. Yeah, if you're watching out there in the Fortville area. That's the first point by Rankin, by the way. We can accommodate several thousand more in here in this giant field house. So come on in and get involved. My mistake, that's Cross hitting the 2 free throws, not Rankin.
Aaron Marks.
Marks' first bucket of the game. 5 seconds. It'll be Mount Vernon and Richmond for the championship tonight. 2 more points at the other end from Tony Long, and that's all she wrote. A great effort. That differential, 63-56, represents the biggest lead of the ball game. Tom, I guess maybe we ought to try to take a shot at getting the winning coach. Yeah, well, okay, we'll take a break here. The final score is Mount Vernon 63 and Pike 56. We'll be right back. Tom, we're having trouble hearing your interview with Jimmie Howell.
He's played good games, but he played a great one tonight.
I want to congratulate you. This was a fine coached ball club. We could all see that. You've done an excellent job there. And I know you're really concerned now getting this ball club ready to play another one.
Well, we are. You know, about a month ago, we decided we wanted to get in a situation where we had to play 2 games in one day. And that was our goal, and they've done it. And I'm really anxious to play tonight. We're going to go back and take a look at Richmond and see what we can do tonight.
Have you given them any consideration at all yet?
Well, we've got a couple tapes on them. We saw them play last week at the regional, so we know a little bit about them. But they're just tremendous athletes, tremendous athletes.
Well, you've got some good ones, too, and we're looking forward to tonight's ball game.
Well, thank you very much.
Jimmie Howell, the winning coach of the Mount Vernon Marauders. They'll play Richmond tonight. Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Back to Jerry.
All right, Tom, just briefly now. Statistically, Richmond will play Mount Vernon now. Mount Vernon hit 22 of 50, 44%, 19 of 27 from the free throw line, 70%. Pike, 25 of 55 from the field for 45%, 6 of 11 free throw wise, 55%. Rebounds were identical at 34 apiece. Turnovers 10 for Mount Vernon, 7 for Pike. Leading scorer for Pike with 23 points, Ron Rutland. Only Billy Gordon was also in double figures with 11. For Mount Vernon, their leading scorer, Derek Shelton, had 28, including 8 out of 8 from the free throw line in the 4th period. He was 12 out of 13 for the afternoon. Troy Cross had 20, and Tony Long added 11 more. The first game again, Richmond victorious by a score of 60-54. Tonight, Mount Vernon will face Richmond because they defeated Pike 63-56. So Mount Vernon goes to 22-3 on the year. Richmond 22-4. Our telecast coverage begins tonight at 8 o'clock here on Channel 4. There are seats available if you're in the area. If not, settle in behind your TV sets because Tom and I will have the telecast for you tonight. That's it from Hinkle Fieldhouse. Jerry Baker for Tom Hession saying so long, everybody.